All right, let's get this started. So welcome to a meetup, kind of a developer-focused meetup, which is the first one that we've gotten to do at Conflux. And today we're going to be talking about the future of Web3, kind of from a more technical perspective and just seeing what's out there. We've got Patrick from Chainlink, Tegan from The Graph, Connor from Gitcoin, and if you guys have been watching my workshops, I'm Aaron. I'm a research engineer at Conflux Network. And so today we'll have Connor be our moderator. And we've just got a pretty great panel of people to just have some conversation on where the space is moving.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you for having us. And thank you, Tegan and Patrick, for being here. So awesome. So first off, I just want to say it's a good day, guys. Happy ETH2 Genesis Day. The future of blockchain and Web3 is looking really bright, and I think we're going to have some fun today. So I guess right off the bat, let's do some quick intros. So my name's Connor O'Day. I work on Gitcoin right now. I've been at Consensus now for 5 years in the Ethereum space for a long time. And I primarily work on our hackathon product, operations, business development, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. We did a great hackathon with Conflux. But yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for joining. Someone else want to?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, I'll jump in. So I'm Patrick. I'm developer advocate for the Chainlink project. Yeah, I've only been in this space for about a year. Actually, this past month was my year anniversary of like really being in crypto, other than like, yeah, right, woo, like, random silly like trading bots or whatever I did in my free time. But yeah, my background is in fintech. So I worked at a hedge fund for about 2 years on the infrastructure and investment side, and then I moved to a data provider. So my Alpha Vantage. So my background kind of is in fintech. It's in uptime. It's in systems that are securing a lot of money, which is appropriate because DeFi is currently securing a lot of money. Everything we're talking about, everything we're doing in DeFi and crypto, data availability, data quality, data importance, and building secure smart contracts. Just kind of applies to everything that I've done previously and just bringing it to the crypto world. Been on the Chainlink team for only actually about 5 months, but I feel like I've been doing it way longer because I started working with the protocol back in November of last year. So.
Amazing. My name is Tegan Klein, and I focus on all things business for The Graph. So The Graph is kind of making open data on blockchains a public good. And my background is in what we call now CFI, so centralized finance. I was in investment banking at Bank of America and the financial institutions group, and then sales and trading at Barclays and fixed income. And then I joined Orchid. I ran business for Orchid for almost a year and a half. And now I have been with The Graph for about 10 months.
Nice. Hey everyone, I'm Aaron. I'm a research engineer at Conflux, and what that means is I kind of do a lot of the technical scoping for integrations. I'll do kind of really quick demos, and I do a lot of kind of what Patrick was describing with developer relations, kind of running the hackathon. My background is in aerospace engineering, so for flight controls and optimization. So I do a lot of I did a lot of algorithmic programming, and so that's kind of come in handy with linking together random new protocols that pop up and digging through documentation. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been in the space for maybe like a year and a half now, roughly. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And if you haven't checked out his Chainlink Conflux GitHub, for any developers who are listening, it's sick. It's really, really good. It's really impressive. So
awesome. Cool. And I think we kind of just touched a little bit on my first question, but it was, what got you into the Web3 space initially? And so maybe, rather than just talking about, what companies you joined or what you're doing, what kind of captured your personal interest to join the space? So maybe Aaron, if you want to lead us off.
Sure. Yeah. Like kind of what I mentioned, my background is with like these complex algorithms and kind of conceptual topics. And gradually later in my studies, I definitely got into the more coding side of things. So I actually haven't been coding too long, but it's definitely accelerated just been having to learn all these protocols, which I think is what excites me about the space. There's just so much happening. Everything from definitely, I have two people from two of my favorite protocols that I've come across over, so the Graph and Chainlink for sure. Just the missions. So I've gotten to work with, tinker around with both of those techs, and it's just been a lot of fun. So that's definitely what's like captured my attention and kept me in the space too.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Tegan?
Yeah, so thank you so much, by the way. But yeah, I learned about Ethereum 4 years ago, and I just kind of saw the opportunity to create a new financial system and new system outside of the one that currently exists. I think that Bitcoin for me really showed me that like a new financial system could be created outside of the one that existed, one that's kind of like deflationary instead of inflationary, which I think is kind of hitting home for a lot of Americans right now while the Fed's printing, trillions of dollars. But then Ethereum really showed me that like Ethereum opened it up to all use cases and showed me that like specifically Web3 can kind of become the future of the internet. And I think the internet has really grown to be too powerful. It wasn't really created to monetize data and sell people advertisements. And so with Web3, I think we see the power of the internet kind of coming back to what it was intended to be initially. So I'm excited to kind of pave that way forward with the Graph and with exciting partnerships like the one we have with Chainlink.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And Patrick, I think you touched upon this slightly, but so 1 year ago, you were in the depths of a long bear market. What brought you into the space?
Yeah. So right. I feel like everyone has their like how I got into crypto story. Yeah. So my first introduction to crypto was actually probably more like 2017, 2018. I'd done some, I knew how to write a Python script. I was doing a little bit of engineering work. I thought I was cool, and I didn't think of cryptocurrency anything more than just, another asset. So in my mind, I had heard about all this arbitrage that was being done. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to build a bot too. I thought it was really cool, but that's really all I thought about it. I was like, I don't know why people are, all up in arms over this stuff. Then I started work. So, at the hedge fund that I was at, I was in charge of kind of, making sure that our data came in correctly, securely, and like watching over the infrastructure of all that, which was hard. Because if somebody's off or wrong, all the models can't run, right? The model, because they're going to run with bad data. They're going to spit out something dumb. You're going to trade, Apple when it's down 1 million points or whatever, and it's because your models are wrong. So I ended up working for a data vendor, and kind of just going about my day. I ended up almost like out of the blue getting synced up with the Chainlink team, and that was actually my introduction to smart contracts, to Ethereum. And the more I learned about like what blockchain actually did, other than being like a random, I'm going to buy and sell this and try to make a profit, I started just getting blown away. Like, holy, like there are so like I even before I joined the Chainlink team, I was starting to write articles about like, hey, like this is actually like insane. Like, I've been in the fintech world for a while now, and smart contracts have the ability to fix so many issues. And just the more I kept learning, the more I kept getting addicted to learning, and it was this wonderful snowball. And so I had to join. I had to come on. But like the more I learn, and you'll have to forgive me if I pop off a little here, but the more I learn, and the more I'm like, wise can help. We need to adoption. Please go, everybody, come. But yeah, that's basically how I got it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, personally, like I got into the Web3 space probably before it was even called the Web3 space, or even that was a thing. I was studying economics at school, got really into Bitcoin, this idea of internet freedom money. And eventually, wanted to learn some computer science as well because of Bitcoin. And so ended up double majoring in the two. But this was back when, the extent of Web3 was like colored coins. If anyone from the early Bitcoin days remembers that, pre-Ethereum, everyone was a Bitcoin maximalist at that point, essentially. But started doing all my school projects on blockchain. I started mining in my dorm room, and the rest is kind of history. I ended up interning at Consensus, I think, before Ethereum actually launched. And so just being there for the start of Ethereum, you could really tell that this was something special. And that kind of converted me from, the Bitcoin is the one and only crypto to the smart contract world, the future of many chains and many coins. But yeah, it's been a fun ride, and it's cool to see how we all kind of came into it from different angles, because I think it just kind of shows the variety we have going on here. But I guess that leads me into the next question. So, we all work at different companies. We all kind of do very different things, right? Between Gitcoin, Conflux, the Graph, Chainlink, but we all seem to know each other. We all seem to be in this space together. But so, how do you guys see, the protocol or company that you work for being important in like the Web3 tech stack, and specifically for developers? Open question. Anyone feel free.
We're all jumping at the same time. Yeah, I'll go in. So kind of, I already basically touched on it. I mean, everything that I've done and everything that we do in the modern world revolves around data, right? It revolves around getting reliable, solid data. And in the blockchains and smart contract space, it's even more important than just in the than in your kind of Web 2 world. Because in your Web 2 world, you get some bad data. You depending on the industry that you're in, you can kind of tweak it a little bit, whatever, you have control over everything. So it's fine. In the smart contract world, you can't do that. If your data is wrong, your smart contract execution is wrong, people get catastrophic fallout and horrible things happen, and it's really bad. So I definitely feel very fortunate to kind of to be working with so many smart people at the Chainlink on the Chainlink team, and everybody here too. Everybody on this call, I've had the luxury of being able to kind of interact with everybody here one-on-one, which has been a blast. But so just getting the reliable data for smart contracts, I think is really going to be the pivotal thing that can kind of change us from doing token transfers and doing kind of whatever to doing what smart contracts are really meant to do, which is building these superior digital agreements, right? And so you can't build a digital agreement without proper data. So I'm really, really excited for Chainlink and the decentralized oracles and things to come. So
yeah, I'll follow that.
Yeah.
Well, Chainlink's kind of bringing off-chain data to the blockchain. We're kind of bringing blockchain data to the rest of the world at the Graph. And so the Graph, we're an indexing and query protocol that's powering many applications in DeFi and the broader Web3 ecosystem today. So you can kind of think of the Graph like an open API that makes it easy for developers to build on blockchains. And the analogy that I like to use is like what Google does for search, we do for blockchain. So you have great open data all over that's on Ethereum and other blockchains, but it's really difficult to access that data and serve that data to your users. So the Graph kind of abstracts that away with this open data layer that sits on top of blockchains that developers can easily pull from and serve data to their users. And so right now we're broadly used across the ecosystem. So we have a community of over 6,000 active developers that have built over 3,400 subgraphs. I see we have a curator in the audience here. And so every time you use the Uniswap exchange, you're interacting with the Graph subgraph. Also Gnosis, Mintbase, Gods Unchained, Decentraland, Aave. So anything that exists on Ethereum can utilize the Graph. And kind of the difference between like this open data layer is we can interact with anything. So any application on Ethereum, any layer 2, so Chainlink, Matic, Scale, and then soon any blockchain. So really excited for the things to come.
Can I hype up the Graph a little bit more too? So there's so a lot of developers too, because you guys are all probably familiar with this. And I'm just going to do it from the more engineering. When you're building these protocols, when you're building these hackathon projects, it can be really, really nice to kind of quickly iterate and get blockchain data. And so I know there's a lot of projects that just natively from the get-go, they build their they add their subgraph in there so they can quickly triage or whatever's going on, which is really cool. So just a couple more kudos to the Graph there.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I didn't realize when I was kind of assembling all the panelists that we had the component of bringing off-chain data onto a chain. I'm from the blockchain side of things, and then we have also the component of taking blockchain data and then moving it off. So it's technically a full circle there. But yeah, so like Conflux kind of fits into that picture as like a potential blockchain to integrate, like Tegan said, in the future, the graph. And then we're actually working on Chainlink stuff right now. But just the way that I see kind of where Conflux kind of fits into Web3 as a whole is it's more of a high level. I think we might get into this a little later, but just kind of the vision where different blockchains capture different sectors of a market. So depending on who you ask, it's a debate if well maybe ETH2 is the dominant chain that emerges in a couple of years or something, or whatever chain. But then there's also the other vision where like Ethereum is very dominant and popular in the West, so North America, Europe, tons of developers, tons of activity. And then Conflux is establishing itself and has established quite a bit of, I guess, prowess in China. There are tons of developers, tons of interest. So it kind of fits into that whole Web3 stack where the base layer of blockchains is made up of a ton of different blockchains, each one specializing in its own area, each one with its own special capabilities that meet specific needs. Things like, I don't know, other blockchains you might see down there are like consortium ones where big banks in the future might not want to sit on a public layer and they'll want to sit on their own blockchain. I see Conflux kind of fitting into that layer, and also just connecting as many protocols and applications as possible. Part of what excites me about Conflux is that vision to basically turn Conflux into basically connect as many protocols as possible to create a set of tools for people to build multiple protocol applications. So apps that use Chainlink data feeds, that use the GraphQL APIs. I don't know, let's throw out some other names like using Arweave for data storage or Filecoin. Basically anything that just combines a bunch of protocols together. I kind of see Conflux fitting into the middle of that, building those bridges and connecting everything.
So you said something interesting. You said, like Ethereum being the dominant chain, and right now, obviously, like Ethereum is definitely the dominant chain. It's got the most users. DeFi is kind of the biggest there. Do you think that there will always be a dominant chain? Do you think that there will be? Do you think that some of these other chains will kind of take a lot of the share? Like, I'm kind of asking like one of the harder questions here, but I always think it's very fun about that.
Yeah, I'll take a stab.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll take a stab at that. I mean, I was going to say the common theme I'm seeing between all three of you and what you were saying is interoperability. It seems like everybody is building right now, to interoperate between different chains and different networks. And what that really leads me to believe is that it is going to be a multi-chain future. And we've seen a lot of projects come out and market themselves as ETH killers or the new Ethereum, but that's starting to shift into everything kind of complements Ethereum or complements other chains. And so while I think Ethereum is leading the race right now and has a lot of that network effect, it's definitely going to be a multi-chain future. And these other projects and layer twos, they're all going to fit into the puzzle in some way or another. But I think there needs to be some base settlement layer, which in my view will probably be Ethereum, hopefully.
Yeah, I think like this is the big open question, right? Like, will it be Ethereum? Will we solve scalability with a layer 2, or will it be some other chain? And I do personally believe in a multi-blockchain future. I want to see more around like inter blockchain, but the difficulty right now is composability. And so hoping to see, that we don't have to copy all these applications from one blockchain to the other, and instead they can kind of interoperate on one another. And I think the graph will kind of help with this post our mainnet launch as well.
Yeah, I definitely like what both of you said, where kind of a huge part of that for like different layers of like a blockchain ecosystem, where Connor was saying how like the base layer might be Ethereum, but you have to get information off of Ethereum to other chains efficiently. And then also be able to, that's where Chainlink comes in. You have to be able to move that information on blockchains in a trustworthy manner. And then I like the picture that Connor kind of put out, where it's like, I don't know, people talk about Bitcoin as like the digital gold. So it's like, if you want to draw parallels to kind of how I guess the American currency system worked out, where like you turned into like it was first the gold standard, and then it turned into all cash based, and then maybe the next layer, like where Conflux or cash based is kind of like what you see with Ethereum, and then like then you get to the supercharging part of like credit cards, Venmo, whatever. And that's where you see like other blockchains come in, like Conflux, or other layer 2 solutions like zero knowledge proofs, or like other scaling solutions that you see with like Matic and other chains too.
Yeah, I think that kind of leads us into the next section or topic here that we have. So, what important trends do you guys see in the Web3 space right now and in the future? And what trends do you think need to catch on for blockchain and Web3 to go mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to this because with the graph, we have a unique standpoint where we're on top of Ethereum. So we've seen explosive growth on Ethereum and IPFS. Specifically, a lot of that was around like DeFi and all the excitement around DeFi. And I think so many new things have been developed in that ecosystem specifically. Like where Uniswap used to be like the main and only DEX, now we've seen 10s, 20s, 30 DEXs spin up. So I think DeFi will continue. I'm excited to see more of like fixed rates as opposed to just variable rates. I think that's going to be an upcoming trend. But outside of that DeFi bubble, we've seen a lot of growth in the NFT space, gaming, and also inter blockchains like Wrap BTC and things like that. And I think that trend will continue. And then one thing that I haven't yet seen, but I feel like is coming because of all of the research we've done in the zero knowledge space, I think privacy will be kind of on the up and up again as well.
Yeah, I think to me, what seems to be kind of like one of the most important trends is it feels like a vanilla answer actually. It's just going to be the continuing accrual of DeFi and DeFi protocols, and then obviously getting the important data, getting the reliable data, getting more and more interesting data so you can do more interesting things. Right now. Chainlink has these price feeds for for all these pricings, and Aave, Synthetics, all these huge DeFi products are taking advantage of that, and have built these incredibly successful DeFi products. And I think bringing on more data, bringing on more types of data will kind of unlock the creativity of other engineers a lot too. Because right now, an engineer comes in, I've seen hundreds of maybe not hundreds. Actually, hundreds of projects where people, really talented creative engineers, they come in, they build something really cool, but it doesn't have super solid data. It has, they've found like some kind of rogue API that they're pulling into their smart contract, and they realize that can't scale because if that rogue API goes down or it breaks or whatever, it's going to get, it's going to be toast. It's going to be wasted. So I think, an important trend that needs to happen is getting more and more data on so we can build more and more tools. I think scaling DeFi is going to help scale scale crypto as an industry in general. Just bringing more adoption, more people to kind of understand. I think kind of having more of these talks, more of these education pieces to go out too, because there's so many people that don't understand smart contracts, and it's hard to, we all still remember, because it wasn't that long ago when we were like, what the hell is a smart contract? I don't know, what is this? So I think, once people kind of dive in and understand, everyone kind of goes, whoa, okay, this is cool. So I think bringing more education is going to be really important. Keep scaling the ones that are doing well, like DeFi. I'm really curious to kind of see what the next DeFi is. I don't know if we want to talk about that at all, because I have no idea. Because right now, like, when we talk smart contracts, the biggest thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's DeFi. I want to know if like NFTs, if collectibles is going to be the next thing, or maybe the next thing is going to be insurance. I know there's a couple of protocols that are working on that, or maybe the next thing is it's something we've never seen before. Like I don't know. Sorry, I kind of.
Yeah.
I actually, that's a good actually jumping point for my answer, because kind of what you and Tegan were talking about with data, and how the internet is just built on data, but it's all held in centralized ways. The user basically provides data to Google, whatever, Amazon, and then they no longer own it. So kind of the next big thing that I've come across, and that's really exciting to me, is data tokens. So basically tokenizing access to data. It's kind of very similar to what Chainlink and the Graph kind of do, where you get the corresponding token, you're able to pay some sort of fee for that token, but kind of more generalizing it to just individual people like you and me, like our I don't know, our transaction data that on our credit cards, or our all our smartphones are recorded. I don't know if you can sign up for an app that's recording local weather data, and then you can turn that feed and monetize it. So the kind of the growth of a personal data economy almost, but all blockchain based. It's kind of the idea behind Ocean Protocol, if any of you guys have come across that. So that's something that has definitely caught my attention over. And also someone left a comment saying it's Oasis Network, and that's true. Oasis is also doing it. Well, it's a little different. Oasis is more of a blockchain where you can store data privately, and then Ocean is the marketplace that will connect that private data to purchasers. So yeah, I guess I kind of answered Connor's original question, and then also dove into Patrick's. I don't know, Connor, if you have thoughts on the trends and what's next.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of thoughts, so I don't even know where to start. But no, the data aspect is really interesting. If any of you guys have read Radical Markets, I think there's a chapter called like Data as Labor or something. It's about data, but again, it's about monetizing, your personal data, because it is valuable and it is, worth something, and we kind of lose that in the Web2 world. But we work really closely with like the Radical Exchange Foundation, specifically around Gitcoin grants and public goods funding, and that's definitely an area where I'm super excited about the future. But the one piece that's missing that I think hasn't been mentioned yet that a lot of people tend to overlook is identity systems, is robust, trustable identity systems that aren't centralized or trust any one party. And that just takes time. I think we need kind of a robust blockchain ecosystem. We need people that have been around for a long time. We need social graphs. And so it'll come, but it's going to take a while. But, when it does, then we're going to have all these experiments. Some are kind of starting now with like Good Dollar and Circles with, UBI systems, governance and voting systems. So I'm really excited to see, where that goes. And that might still be, 5-10 years out, but definitely something I'm keeping a pulse on. And going back to something you mentioned, Patrick, is NFTs. I think NFTs are just kind of starting to blow up. Like the numbers, have been steadily rising lately. And obviously, digital art, NFTs are kind of the main focus right now. But I think gaming is also going to be huge. The one thing holding it back right now is scalability and transaction fees. And so, hopefully, as we work on these issues, both on layer 1 and layer 2. And blockchains are a lot easier to use. There's going to be a lot more, games that are utilizing Ethereum or NFTs and things of that nature. So,
and just to expand on that and make the NFT comment a little bit more tangible within the graph. So what we've seen is that within like the last 3 months, NFTs have almost doubled. And so the usage within NFTs and subgraphs have doubled from like 3% of the total ecosystem to about 6% now. So just to make that trend a little bit more quantitative.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were like 15 things we all said that I was like, I want to bite my teeth into that.
Yeah, I know. We could go for a long time.
Right.
Yeah,
we'd cover like half a topic.
I know. I don't think I've been on or seen a meetup where we name dropped so many different types of protocols in one question. So that was pretty cool.
And then I mean the second part of the question is what do we need to go mainstream, right? And something we haven't really talked about is user experience. And that's still, it's came a long way in the past few years and still has a long way to go. Both on the developer side, developer tooling and, making these things easier to use for, Web 2 developers and people that are new to blockchain. But also on like the consumer side, building out, wallets and systems and custody solutions where, your parents or your grandma can own crypto and have a mobile wallet and, not need to worry about storing her keys. And anyway, I think we have a long way to go, but it's getting there and it's exciting. And I guess that sort of leads into the next topic as well. We have some good segues here, but what is something that the Web 2 developer experience has that Web 3 is still missing, and how can we help change that?
Oh, that's a good question.
So I have one main thought, and it's, so when I first started learning to code, it was really easy to find documentation. It was really easy to plug things together. If you wanted to go build a website, you just go to npm or yarn and download or install a package, and that's it. You can interact with everything from authentication to databases, to whatever you want. So I think that's the experience we're missing. Like right now, you could sure you can install like any SDK, Web3.js or Conflux equivalent, but then you have to go configure your smart contract on the blockchain. You have to go set up your ABI. You have to go get the address. You have to make sure you have the tokens for the transaction fees. There's all these additional steps on top of just plugging in a package. So I think one of the biggest things that the current developer experience, like the majority of the world has, is that level of plug and play. So I think definitely if whoever comes up with the package that allows you to just take a blockchain, plug it in, and it just works, no other configuration necessary, I think that's the winner from a developer experience. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that part.
I feel like that's what every engineer looks for. It's like, oh, why doesn't this just work? Right? Like I hear myself saying that like a lot. So I was actually originally going to disagree with you, and then as you kept talking, I was like, oh no way, dang it, he's super spot on. which I was disappointed by, because I'm like, we're all so like on the same page. This sucks. There's no constructive discourse going on.
What would you have disagreed with? I'm curious.
Okay, yeah. So I'll play it up a little bit. So when you were like, hey, it's like super plug and play, I was going to kind of respond, say, hey, you know what, building a full stack, good web application, yeah, you can go to npm, you can do like, create React app or whatever, but then dealing with the database and stuff, you kind of have to put all these pieces together, and they don't always like fit super well. Mm-hmm. So my background is more with Python, and I know like, kind of having to switch from like Flask or Django on the back end to switch to, React or whatever front end framework that you're doing. And I've actually written a couple articles about how much you can't stand, and everyone's on the same page, how much nobody can stand how JavaScript has like 50,000 front end frameworks, and it's the flavor of the year. I think that is kind of frustrating, but then yeah, as you kept talking, I was like, okay, no, there's definitely more within the Web 2 world than the Web 3 world, which makes sense. However, I did also want to comment saying, more tools are coming out. Like I know there's like Create ETH app, which is kind of like a front end Create React app for blockchain tools, which is cool. I think, don't quote me, I think it actually does come with the graph pre-installed with it. There's Truffle, Hardhat, Brownie. There's all these frameworks kind of coming out, but I think what is less in line in the Web 3 than the Web 2 world is kind of standards, right? If you go to like a Web 2 thing, like you're going to use Yarn or you're going to use NPM, and like that's it. That's how you're going to build your Node.js application. When it comes to the Web 3 stuff, it's kind of like you're going to use Truffle, you're going to use Hardhat, or you're going to use Brownie, depending on like your language and flavor. But there's other than that, the standards I feel like aren't really there. There's not like, so I'm frustrated. There's so many JavaScript frameworks. There really aren't any Solidity frameworks, even though I know it's not the same, but I hope maybe you guys kind of get what I'm saying. It's not the standards for developing aren't really there, and maybe that's because the space changes so quickly.
Innovation. Yeah, we're constantly innovating that. Yeah, but the standards will come, and I think that is, like, to echo what Aaron was saying, that is something that the graph is working towards. So we save developers about 12 months lines of code when they interact and use the graph to build subgraphs, and so we're making it really easy for Web 2 developers to use GraphQL and build on blockchains. And I think that that's going to bring, like, this waterfall effect of developers from Web 2 to Web 3, and also what Aaron was saying earlier about kind of like gatekeeping data. Like, if you look at the Bloomberg terminal, which, like, I come from centralized finance, everyone uses the Bloomberg terminal. We are paying gobs of money for it. It's like probably like over $100 billion industry, all because they have, like, data control of this data. And so with the graph, like, we're opening that data up, and there are different members in the community, like the node operators, which we call indexers, the curators, which identify the good subgraphs and stake tokens on them, and then the delegators, they can all earn. And so that way that centralized company doesn't get that money. It instead goes peer-to-peer in the ecosystem, which is how it should play out. So
I think we're all, if I may, we're all kind of like hitting at this thing, like Web 2 has better tooling than Web 3, better tooling and standards. For Web 3, it should be like, hey, use the graph to get your data, use Chainlink to get your data on, use the graph to get your data off, use Chainlink to get your data on, use Truffle or whatever, use these standards so that we can build faster, better, and safer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And abstract all this complexity away so that developers they can focus on the UX and the UI and making it really easy for their users.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say though, like, I think there's another aspect to it of, like, education, because I mean, like, Truffle works. If someone really is dedicated and wants to use it, they can do it, and they can learn how to build on a blockchain. But I think there's a lot of Web 2 devs that still kind of have a bad taste in their mouth on blockchain. Whether it was like the ICO bubbles or there's a lot of scams and spam and shilling, and I think it kind of turns some people some people away. But no, I mean, that's something we're trying to do at Gitcoin big time, is like onboard more Web 2 developers, because there's not that many good blockchain engineers, and there's tons of jobs to be had. There's so many startups now that want to run hackathons, bounties, and it's definitely more difficult to get the new devs into the system as opposed to finding the funding for them. And so again, it comes back down to user experience, tooling, like we talked about, but also just education, I think, is a big one, and convincing people that this is worthwhile to learn, and that this is that this is valuable. And then one thing I did want to say too is when I was really first learning to code and taking computer science, like, sure, like, documentation and all that helped, but I probably learned the most by just Googling errors and going to, like, Stack Overflow, right? And, like, you just had, like, years and years of community input, people helping one another, and all of that's, like, logged somewhere. And that's where you can kind of, like, learn a lot. And obviously good documentation is helpful as well. But I have pitched this idea at Gitcoin, and I don't think we're doing it, but we need, like, a Web3 Stack Overflow with, like, micro bounties or, like, tips. You put up, like, $5, like, help me fix this error, and all of that gets documented. So I'm giving that out. Anyone can take that idea and run with it. I don't want anything in return, but but it just takes time. We need like this backlog of years and years of people troubleshooting and learning, and we're getting there.
I've had the same thought, and I always wonder, like, what are all these people who are, like, scraping Stack Overflow, who, like, jump on and answer questions? Like, what do they get out of it? Like, these amazing people who just want to help people. Like, awesome.
Yeah. Something Patrick, you mentioned is, like, all the tools that, like, when we were talking about standards and you were talking about standard development tools and things like that, something that came across my mind was we don't even have a standard blockchain language. Like, you have Solidity, you have WASM, you have all these new ones that are coming out, like, with better security proofs. The list could keep going on and on, but it's just like so much of the space is in flux. that's where even the core language and the virtual machine that the blockchain is running on, there's no standard for that. So maybe even like start at a lower level of defining like this is the language that's going to be used, like how web browsers all use HTML and JavaScript, CSS. Like this becomes the standard, or it's going to take a couple years for maybe a dominant language to emerge. Maybe it won't be a dominant blockchain. Maybe it'll just be a dominant smart contract language.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. One of the problems with that is people in crypto and blockchain, especially like in the early days, were so anti-centralization that there, you know, if you want there to be one main language, people are going to fight it just out of principle of fighting it. So, you know, I think naturally something like that will emerge, but it's also interesting that, you know, we have all these implementations, you know, there's no one entity kind of dictating how things go. It's a very natural, I don't know, just organization of things.
Yeah, it does make you a very versatile developer where it's like, I'm going to touch this protocol and I'm going to learn this language because this is what it's written in. Kind of funny was I was working with Chainlink stuff and I'd never worked with Go before, and now I can write Go code in about 4 months. So just a random kind of, for if anyone's not a blockchain dev and was looking into it, that's definitely something that's potentially enticing. You just learn a lot of languages, you learn a lot of protocols.
I highly second that. Super second that.
Yeah. I think another issue too is like the high stakes, right? Like if you're, you know, a developer, you know, you can make your app. If there's some bugs, there's okay, you can fix them. But if you're working with smart contracts, like if you're really trying to deploy things to mainnet and have them hold value, like, you know, you should get an audit, you know, and these audits are super expensive because it's a very specialized skill set. But you know, you have to be extremely careful, and there's not a lot of room for error, which I think can scare some people off.
Yeah, and we've seen even on, you know, a lot of products that get audited, they still get bombarded for whatever reason. I will, anybody who's listening, if you get an audit, here's something that hopefully goes without saying: don't change your code post audit. That is a recipe for disaster. So please don't do that. And please don't use single centralized pricing oracles, because that is also a recipe to get destroyed. So you're asking to get owned if you do that. That's you're literally putting the door up. So
yeah. I mean, your code can be totally solid, and if, you know, your oracle is compromised, like you can get screwed. But that actually, I have a question. So this kind of takes us off the run of show a little bit, but obviously we've seen all of these. I don't know whether to call them exploits or, you know, arbitrage opportunities of people manipulating oracles and, you know, taking off a good sum of money from decentralized exchanges or lending protocols. But do you guys, like, this is a more philosophical question. Do you see that as like a hack or an exploit, or is that simply, you know, the market, you know, correcting itself, or, you know, finding the most accurate pricing?
Oh, this is a good question. I feel like this will be a polarizing question. Oh, I'm excited for this.
Oh man,
I'm not going first though.
I'll take the bait. Oh, Connor, were you gonna do it?
Nope.
Okay. I will count it as an exploit, because if it's not how the original developer intended it to be used, then I would consider an exploit. And where the blame falls is up to you. Like, is it on the developer who didn't foresee it and didn't prevent it? Is it on the auditor for missing that? Or is it on the user for like being the hacker, or however you want to describe them? So that's why I count it more as an exploit, because it's not the original intention of the protocol.
So can I ask a follow-up to you, Aaron? Do you think it's an attack on the protocol? Who's the victim here, if there is one?
Ooh.
I apologize. I probably shouldn't have put you on the spot.
No, you're good.
You braved me first.
Yeah, I would say, it's tricky because the damages aren't necessarily to like monetary. They aren't necessarily monetary damages to the protocol. You damage the reputation, but then you take the assets from other users. So that's why I find it's almost like an attack on the users rather than an attack on the protocol. I don't know if that answered your question or if that was more just I circled around it.
No, I think that makes sense. So would you say the victims are the users then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess I just want to shift the culture in the space to kind of go against this kind of behavior. And like, if you do this, then be like a white hat hacker and like give the money back as opposed to like taking from innocent people, because that is really kind of setting the space back. And it is good to like identify these exploits, but also it's not good to steal from people. And so I guess as a space overall, I want to see more like social influence of like do the right thing as opposed to like just take as much profit as you can.
I would actually push back on that. I think that, if you were going to say that, we only want white hats, if you're going to do this, you have to return the money, there's no incentive for people to do it. And if they don't find these issues or these bugs, then, we're going to find them later when there's even more money at stake.
That's
and
why
so
we need Bitcoin to have a grant for this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a strict, like code is law, like the DAO hack was totally cool kind of guy. But I do think that, in DeFi and with oracles, and I think flash loans have opened up this whole can of worms that we can't close. But I don't see it as necessarily it's a type of exploit, but I think it is, it's a form of arbitrage. It's a form of, the free market and like price finding mechanisms. And, the more that we discover these vulnerabilities, the more we can kind of, prepare for them in the future. So it's like a bug bounty that, is just always out there.
So if we had like a scale of like, I guess so there's the extremist where code is law, the DAO hack was perfect and fine, and then the other, what would be the other extremist side of that? Like blockchain is
treat others how you want to be treated.
I feel like that might be kind of like over here. Maybe the other side is like blockchain is a fun experiment and like is the same as like any other company. Maybe that's the other side. I don't know, but it sounds like Connor, you're more kind of like closer to the code is law, and Tegan's a little bit farther away. Interesting, Aaron. Where do you say you would kind of fall in there?
I think I fall maybe not as far as Connor is on the code is law end, but would drift towards that side because it's like you wrote it, you deployed it, you let other people basically do whatever they want with it because at that point, to some extent, it's out of your control. And then, so whatever happens.
Yeah. And I know we all kind of mentioned it, but I think it's such a hard problem too, because if you go ahead and you say, oh, the developers built this, shit protocol or whatever, you kind of demonize the developers and, guess what? The developers stop developing. Andre, from Yearn, I think is a perfect example. He's like, hey, I test and prod, don't put your money in my stuff. A bunch of people do. And, it turned out to be bad. A ton of people lost a ton of money. And he's like, hey, I told you not to. And then he's getting like death threats, right? And so he quit cryptocurrency for a little bit because he was like, screw this. I'm not going to build stuff if this is what happens. So I think demonizing the developers is not accurate. I think if you go to the auditors, right, the auditors are going to say, okay, well, we didn't cover for that, which is totally fine. And then the users are going to say, okay, well, we trusted you. So maybe the responsibility goes back on the users. But then again, it's really, really hard to tell a user, hey, don't go into this protocol. The upside's like, you could get 150% in like, the first 3 months, or you could lose everything. Even though it's like, yes, you should, do your own research, et cetera. It's going to be really hard for somebody who's rational, self-interested to say, I'm not going to do this, right? Because, if they're saying the upside is like insane, why would they not? So I think it's a really hard problem. And it's something that I've actually written a lot about already. I know, kind of exactly what we were talking about before can definitely help this stuff, having these standards, right? don't use centralized oracles. If it's a DEX, if it's an API, if you're getting your price from a single place, you're asking to get flash loan attacked. You're even if it's not a flash loan, you're asking to get whale attacked. Some of the other ones are a little bit harder. And from what I've seen from the research that I've done, it's been mostly Oracle attacks and reentrancy attacks. That was the DAO one. It was kind of this recursive, it basically like kept calling itself. Those ones I think are harder to spot. But yeah, having standards around when you call external functions, because that's what kind of like a really simple example of what it is like you call an external function, that external smart contract does some malicious stuff and recalls your contract before you actually set your balance to 0. So it can kind of like keep jumping in the state of your smart contract says the balance is still up. Those ones are hard to find, but the Oracle ones, I mean, in my mind, at least at this point, we need to do our best to help educate people, because at this point, we know what's going to cause these issues. We know, if you're not using like a decentralized network to get your pricing data, you're going to get owned. If you're not using, and that's why we've seen Synthetics, Aave, all these projects that are using Chainlink price feeds, they're not getting hacked. They're not getting attacked because they understand this. They understand what's going on here. So, and yeah, Tegan, running your point, yes, I think you're absolutely correct. We as a community need to like, I don't want to say shame each other into like being better, but we need to be better. We as a community need to make everybody better so that we can get more adoption. Because if these keep happening, imagine like close relatives or loved ones of you like saying, hey, like come join DeFi, come join crypto. Oh yeah, this platform lost 90 million last week, and it's like happened like every week for the past month. But yeah, no, we're great. Come here, right? It's not gonna.
And maybe it is just to like be more honest about like the potential risks, and like test and prod doesn't mean a lot to like my grandma, but I know what that means. So just like being very clear about these are the risks and this could happen.
Yeah, I think there's even another layer where the core blockchain developers can actually do something about it, where it's kind of interesting, Patrick, that you brought up reentrancy and how that's really actually hard to detect. And kind of the standard for Solidity program has been like, you have to order your code in a specific way to like make sure you change the state before you start triggering external interactions. Something just that Conflux that doesn't actually get mentioned a lot. Our core developers actually decide to revert reentrancy at the VM level. So in order to prevent reentrancy attacks, which have, for the most part, reentrancy doesn't have much of a use unless you're attacking a protocol. So the decision was made just to like stop it at the transaction will revert. And I think there's another layer where blockchain developers and protocol developers can build safety checks to like make sure the user experience isn't compromised by someone who's like, oh, I can do this and clean out some liquidity pool. So it's I feel like it's a mix of warning people, like Tegan said, and then also just learning to build better, whether it's smart contracts or whether it's like a core protocol.
Yeah, it was very well put. I didn't know that about Conflux, actually.
Yeah, it's actually not. The more I think about it, I'm like, I actually don't mention that too often. All right,
it doesn't come up in everyday conversation.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know, and this is just something out of my realm, why Ethereum doesn't have that. I know they changed the fallback functions gas, and this might be too in the weeds, to lower, so it was harder to do them. Right. But maybe that's a conversation for not here.
Yeah, I think that I actually don't know too much about Ethereum's decision besides the fact that they lowered the gas that you can have once you call back externally, as a way to potentially make it harder. But I don't know the specific reasons why they didn't just remove it from their VM, or if it was too difficult to remove from their VM.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so Aaron, we have like 5 minutes left, and there's a ton of questions from the audience. So, do you think we should? Do you want to? Should we try to rapid fire through some of these? Or
yeah, let's do it. Maybe we'll just get one or two to answer, and we'll fly through them and get some people's questions answered. We could talk all day, apparently.
Yeah, we could. There's a lot here. I'm not sure if some of them were here previously or not, but I'm just going to go down in the order of upvotes, and I think we could do like rapid fire.
Connor, just check the Google Doc. That'll give you a more summarized version of them.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. First, we got, how can Web3 achieve a right balance between privacy adoption for future? If all handshake sites require us to use a local wallet, do you see it as a barrier to wide scale adoption? Do you see the situation evolving when Web3 matures?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I would say, I'll answer it really quickly, Connor, and then but this is kind of what falls into the multi-chain vision, where like you have public blockchains that can move super fast, and you can have transparency there, which is useful for exchanges, whatever. But then the other side of it is like someone mentioned Oasis network earlier, which is a privacy network. And that's kind of where you can bring that KYC, or you can bring private trading strategies in, and then keep that side private. If anyone else wants to comment on the other two questions in that.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think, and it kind of pains the crypto anarchist in me hates to say this, but I think custodial wallets are going to be a big part of the future. For your average person, they're not going to be storing their keys. And it will be somewhat normalized, although, it'll be encouraged, you store your own coins, but I think a lot of applications will end up offering custody solutions. All right, we got more. There have been many different exploits and attacks on blockchain, most recently related to DeFi. How could Web3 strengthen security in DeFi to prevent these from reoccurring?
I think we hit this one a little bit.
Yeah, I think we did.
I get to know what Patrick was talking about.
Yeah, I think we hit this a lot. We probably don't need to go over it again, right? Standard.
No centralized oracles.
Yes. Got it.
And audit your code and don't change it. All right. What are plans to foster developer adoption of Conflux, the Graph, Chainlink, Gitcoin, new tools, SDKs, IDEs, etc.?
These are the most loaded questions. We were like, yeah, we'll rapid fire them. No worries.
For Gitcoin, we're not a protocol, but we are just trying to be much more Web2 friendly. We want to abstract away the blockchain aspect, make it really easy to link a wallet. And our onboarding definitely needs some work, but the simpler we can make it to everybody, the faster we can get developers on the site.
Yeah, I'll echo that for the Graph. We make it really easy for developers to come in and build on blockchains quickly. And we want to bring in more Web2 developers into the Web3 ecosystem with that. And we've seen a lot of that now. And I think we're getting to more of this standard, but also innovation is really important, and moving quickly is really important. And I think that, you have a trade-off between being very innovative and also being really easy to use. And right now we're kind of more in this innovation phase.
Yep. Hackathon, grants, community helping community, new tools, SDK IDs. Yeah. New products, new features, new cool things to do. So yeah, just kind of everything.
Yeah. I definitely echo what Patrick said. Just show people how to use it. Make it as simple as possible for someone to get started. Like, how do you send CFX, or how do you send ETH to one address to another? And that's where you get started for a new developer.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Next, what do you think about privacy in blockchain, especially when a SEX like Coinbase will require the KYC for every address? Blockchain plus KYC plus privacy equals 2021 ? I'll just say real quick, it's not Coinbase requiring that. I think the idea was floated that the US federal government might require that. I don't think it's actually in the process of happening right now. I see it as highly unlikely because I don't think they're going to be able to control it, and I think it would be pretty damaging. But if the US government does that, I think a lot of the crypto innovation goes to other countries, and a lot of personal crypto holdings go off exchanges into personal wallets.
Yeah, you kind of create this like two piece, right? Like you have like the crypto that's on exchanges and that's regulated, and then you have like the crypto that's in like hard wallets and stored. But if they do this, then like anytime you send crypto to this regulated, you can never get it off. And I think that that is really dangerous and damaging to the space. So I hope they rethink that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll just, I guess, add like cross-chain atomic swaps are finally kind of coming out and are usable. There's some good, Bitcoin to Ethereum cross-chain swap protocols. Once if you can put your ETH in, a wallet you KYC, if you can swap to Monero without a centralized exchange or to Zcash or to whatever, like it's all, kind of pointless in the long run. And I think they might try to ban privacy coins. I don't think they can, and I don't think it'll work. And hopefully we'll get those features on top of Ethereum eventually. All right. Okay, there's a couple more, but I think this would be a good final one. Do you plan to create together any projects or products, the Graph, Chainlink, and Conflux?
Well, all of Chainlink's Oracle data can currently be indexed or queried via the Graph. So we are partners. Graph doesn't touch Oracle. That's what Chainlink's for. And then Conflux, with the Graph right now, we're integrated with Ethereum and IPFS, but we are blockchain agnostic. And so we will be expanding to multi-blockchain later next year. And so we will see what's on the horizon there.
Yeah. We've already all kind of been working together. So if you went to the recent Conflux hackathon, there was Aaron and I demoed a Chainlink integration, which was really super and really advanced stuff. If you want to look at like some really solid code that shows how to like use an external initiator and an external adapter, like the Conflux Chainlink integration is a great place to look. And then like I said, the Graph is super useful for kind of quickly querying the tons and tons of data that we're pumping into the chain.
Yeah, definitely hoping to actually do more formal things with the Graph in the future. Like Patrick said, we're doing formal things with Chainlink. Kind of on the demo end, Patrick mentioned I did a demo with Chainlink. I also briefly did a quick demo of connecting an older version of the Graph, so a couple months back before you guys launched testnet. So I'm sure the protocol has changed quite a bit, but I was poking around and managed to index some a random smart contract on Conflux for fun. But it did involve some tweaking, so probably not ready for integration level, but the idea exists for the two protocols to work together for sure.
Awesome. All right. I think we'll probably call it there. We're like 2 minutes over, but yeah, that was a great discussion, guys. Thank you, Conflux, for having us here and hosting, and thanks for everyone who attended.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hosting. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And Aaron, are we going to just stay on this link to demo some of the hackathon projects now?
Yeah. Feel free to, Tegan, if you want to stick around and watch the demos, or if you want to hop off, feel free. But we're going to switch to a hackathon demo day. But it's up to you.
Amazing. I have another call, so I'll catch it online, but good luck, everyone. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers.
I actually have to jump off as well. I apologize. I did have another call as well, but I will also catch it online.
Cool. All right. See you, Patrick.
Talk soon.
No worries. See you, man.
All right. Let's get this set up.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was great. Hopefully, I'm planning on doing some more similar things in the future. So people stay tuned. Maybe we'll get more of these developer technical talks. Cool. So let's shift to the hackathon. Let's pull up the winners real quick.
Awesome. Cool. And I'm curious, do we have any hackers in the audience that built anything for the Conflux event?
Maybe not.
Who knows?
All right, let's get this started. I should turn on the light. That's worse, actually. All right. Anyway, yeah, Conflux hosted a hackathon. It ended last Sunday night, and the 3 weeks before that, we hosted a hackathon with Gitcoin. Chainlink was also a sponsor, and so is Aave. We just saw a ton of really interesting projects, just different applications on how just creative the developer community can be in terms of connecting a new protocol like Conflux. Oops. That was not supposed to happen. Connecting a new protocol like Conflux with kind of existing protocols that you see with Chainlink and Aave. So we're gonna show some of the ones that happened and were submitted. We'll show the 3 winners, and then I'll be demoing them. Sadly, none of the participants could make it just because of time zones. They're mostly based out Asia and Africa. But we got 3 winners. So yeah, and then Connor, let's just, I'll go through them pretty quickly, and then we can just chat about the things that we liked, things that we thought were interesting, and maybe like future, what we see as the future for each one.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I actually haven't seen all these yet. So
no, all right. So let's start with, let's go 3rd place to 1st place. Let's do it that way instead. And then if I can share my screen. Like this. Cool. So Crowdcast doesn't allow sharing sound, which is why I'm going to talk through this.
You might be able to play it out loud through your speaker into the mic, but that's not.
Yeah, so it's actually, we tested it yesterday, but it's not.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, so this is a team of 5 students at Tsinghua University in China. They're part of a Conflux university program, and then they were doing stuff, and I was like, hey, this would be great for the hackathon. So what they ended up doing. Actually, we'll just see it really quick. So what they're trying to do is a lottery platform, and then take advantage of Conflux's low transaction fees and really high really high transaction speeds, really low gas costs. So this allows them to kind of maximize a user's potential profit. So you're not spending extra on anything else. So basically what happens is all of the assets in the pool get deposited into Aave. So Aave generates interest tokens, and then that way the prize pool is actually from those interests, and you don't actually lose your base amount. So in some sense, they created a no-loss lottery that maximizes a user's profit, and through running on Conflux to make it as cheap as possible. So, so kind of something they were talking about with existing lotteries is you don't have a lot of transparency. If you watch TV, or my childhood memory is you watch TV, the ad comes up, and then they draw these like random ping pong balls out of a container, and who knows if that's actually rigged or if that's legitimate. So with smart contracts, you can do that in a trustless manner, which is just a really solid use case where you can trust the code and you don't have to trust the person or the system that someone else put together. Some of their future implementations, they're looking at different types of assets. So whatever you can basically deposit in Aave. And then they're also looking at oracles, which is where Chainlink came in. So Chainlink has a product called VRF, verifiable randomness function, which allows truly random variables to be used on chain. So they would use that to supply randomness to their project and picking a winner. But also you can connect other APIs with Chainlink. So you could connect sporting events. You could connect, I don't know, the big thing in the US was election results. So you could connect all of that as sources of randomness instead. And basically run your lottery that way. So basically, we'll just run through their demo really quick. So basically, you can create wallets with MetaMask, Conflux Portal. So both are browser-based. And then you deposit Ether, and then you can enter the lottery. So it gives you a transaction hash, or actually it gives you 2 addresses. And then, let's see. So, oops. Yeah, so then there's the management side where they can track different users who've deposited. The interface is pretty simple. So this project definitely scored a lot of points on the implementation side. And then kind of their future vision was really cool, to start using cross-chain products too, so they could leverage assets from various chains. And then also use, like I mentioned earlier, the Chainlink VRF. So yeah, that's a awesome. Quick intro to that one.
That's cool.
Yeah, Connor, what do you think?
It. Yeah, I mean, I've seen kind of similar ideas with the no loss lottery, but very cool to see them implement it with Conflux. Mm-hmm. And I think Patrick would be really excited about the Chainlink integration as well. Yeah, definitely. It was one of the ones that like fully captured what you could accomplish with Chainlink. Where like Chainlink isn't just price feeds. You can connect to any API. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, yeah. No, it looks great. I think I think they could keep working on this, right? They just need a front end designer, and boom, they got a DApp. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, I think they're still working on it as part of their program, but maybe they'll keep building it with the prize money that they won and turn it into a full DApp, and then we've got another one on Conflux. Cool. So let's move to the second place. Cool. And so that one was third place. What was the third place prize?
The third place prize was, I believe, 10,000. Actually, let me look that up. Already forgotten, which is kind of.
No worries. I'm just curious. Well, if anyone from that team is out there watching this recording one day, congratulations.
Yeah, definitely. Great project. What can I find? There you go. I believe it was 10,000 for third place, 10,000 CFX for third place, and then they also won the Chainlink track. So that was a extra 10,000 CFX plus $1,000 in Link. So the fact that they included it, they basically doubled their prize winnings, which is pretty sweet. So let's go this one. So this one is called Flux Gift. The demo is actually pretty short, so I'll do a little talking, but just kind of watch what's happening. So this is basically a bill pay system. So this is a project out of some developers in Africa, where they were just trying to make paying bills as efficient as possible, and in their case, they're using Conflux again for the high transaction rates and the low fees, just to make sure users don't have to pay as much. Another interesting thing with Conflux is something called transaction sponsorship. So I believe they used it in their project. So right here, he's sending inputting his information in order to get an address to send tokens to. So you can he can review all the details, then it generates an address that he needs to send to. And then I believe they're using a feature in Conflux called transaction sponsorship, which means you can actually cover someone else's gas fees for them, which is really useful if basically you don't have any tokens, but you need to interact with the blockchain. So it's kind of another layer of usability. But here he's sending the transaction. It takes like a couple seconds to be executed on the chain and confirmed. So give that a second. Yep, there it is. So he'll take the transaction hash and then, well, yeah, so he's looking at it on Conflux scan right now, just making sure the transaction is fully secure. So security on Conflux is kind of similar to Ethereum, where it's like the number of blocks that passed, kind of your finality. So since the block generation on Conflux is so high, finality happens a lot faster. So now he'll take the hash and then deposit it into their payment portal. So that happens. It processes, and then it sends a text message saying you reloaded your, I believe this one is your airtime, so like your phone bill. So yeah, that's it's a really simple demo. Something that I really liked about this product was the UI was really clean. Usually, I don't know, I feel like hackathon projects don't necessarily have the best UI since everyone's focused on functionality. But they built something that's really clean, really easy to follow along. And then just in the future, I could see them integrating Conflux Portal directly into it. So you don't actually have to copy over your information. It's all just in a web browser, and you interact through the web wallet.
Yeah. No, the UI was super clean. I love that it's on mobile as well.
Yeah.
Do you know if that was a team of people or is it
I believe it was a team, a couple people. I'm not actually sure how many. I know at least two. But yeah, they put together a great product. So, all right, now let's move to the winner. So the winner, I'm actually going to just show their product live. The video is a bit long, so let's see. Where's that link? There it is. All right. So this one is called Flux Gift. Oops, sorry, not Flux Gift. Wrong one. Clicked on the wrong one. Sorry, this one's called Interest Prize Dollar. Flux Gift was the one I just shared. So Interest Prize Dollar was the Aave winner, as well as our top prize winner. So the idea behind them is that let's make this a little bigger. Is that you take tokens from Ethereum, and then you deposit them into a smart contract on Ethereum, and then new tokens are minted. Those new tokens are then sent to Conflux, but then because they're Aave A tokens, they earn interest on Ethereum, and that interest is deposited into a prize pool on Ethereum and then passed over to Conflux. The way that you can win that prize pool is by spending your assets on Conflux. So the original tokens that you sent over. So when you deposit from Aave into the smart contract, you get your own tokens. And then as you spend those tokens, you get your transaction record is a tally of how many points that you have as a part of the lottery. So I think the biggest reason that this project won, from my perspective, is it took Aave tokens, and it solved the problem of having the fact that when you move tokens cross-chain, you lose the interest that gets generated when it's sitting in a cold wallet somewhere. You only can withdraw the amount that was sent over. So it moves interest over automatically, but it also incentivizes people to spend those tokens. So it has the extra economic layer to incentivize usage. So the UI is actually really simple, but it kind of gives you a good picture of what's happening. Let's get this connected. Oh. And then can show what's happening. It might not actually.
Do you have it pulled up? I'm still looking at the GitHub window.
Good point.
There you go. That diagram is super helpful, though. That's really cool. They built that.
Yeah, it was. I really liked how it was just straightforward. It seemed straightforward, but it actually unlocks a lot of potential with what could happen. Let me get this connected. Oh, there we go. Cool. So this is what the did I show that correctly? Yeah. So this is what the UI UX looks like. Nothing too fancy, but basically it shows you your various balances on Ethereum, and then it shows you your balances on Conflux. And then on the right side, it gives you all the statistics of who won what. So it's pretty simple in terms of a UI, but again, like I said, the really big selling point is the economic incentives that this product unlocks. Connor, what do you think?
I mean, I'd love to dig into the code a little bit more, but this is awesome. I mean, this is I'm pretty impressed that they were able to build this in like the time period that they had, assuming it completely works, and it sounds like it does. But I know it's no easy task building like the interoperability between chains here, and so yeah, this is cool. And I'm reading the requirements now. It's pretty cool that they gave you all these instructions and everything, and that you can just run it locally.
Yeah, definitely. One of the interesting things was like this was a demo. This was a demo that you could just tinker around with and see what happens. Same thing with the Flux Gift one. You could just kind of tinker around, give it a try. Yeah, this one was our top prize winner. If anyone decided to tune in from those 3 projects, congratulations. If you're looking to participate in other hackathons, Gitcoin always has a ton running. If you're looking to build more on Conflux, come say hello on our Discord, and definitely excited to help you guys get started. Connor, is there anything else you want to
add? I think you covered most of it. Yeah, I'll just say, so quick shill, tomorrow we do launch Gitcoin grants round 8 with like our biggest ever matching pool ever. It's like $600,000 for anyone building open source projects, public goods on Ethereum, or possibly some other chains, or a combination of them. So if you have a project that you're working on that is a public good, feel free to open a grant. If not, help contribute to the rest of the ecosystem. And we also actually have a hackathon going on in conjunction with grants round 8, which will launch tomorrow. So check that out. I can actually drop the link in the chat. But yeah, otherwise, thanks so much for doing this event with us, Aaron, and letting me come on and host the panel today. It was a lot of fun, and looking forward to working together a lot more in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for hosting the panel and getting all the conversations going. We just had some great discussions. So looking forward to working with you in the future, and who knows, maybe we'll be on the panel together in the future too.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Have a good week.
Yep.
Bye.